All right, guys, we're going to be talking to you guys here out of North Korea. TheGuardian.com. This is an article dated April 18th, I'm sorry. U.S. military considers shooting down North Korean missile tests. It says, as Pentagon looks for strategies to pressure into denuclearization, officials worry that intercepting missiles could escalate tensions and risk war. So they're really wanting to make sure that they don't start an unnecessary war without having tried all options before going in that direction. It says the USS Carl Vinson Carrier Strike Group, which includes Aegis-equipped destroyers, is headed for the Korean Peninsula in anticipation of North Korea's sixth nuclear test. Now, I've been hearing about this supposed test. It never did happen. Actually, it was just a regular missile test. It wasn't a nuclear test, and it failed. Okay, so this happened a few days ago. Now, this is dated April 18th, this article here, which many are speculating there is going to be another test because they've already stated, North Korean officials have stated that they will do tests weekly, monthly, and yearly, and the United States is not going to stop them from doing it. So we're still anticipating these tests, and that's why we're sending our strike groups into the vicinity. Now, I also heard that Australia was going to be sending some of their Navy ships as well, their aircraft carriers, into the North Korean waters as well. Not to mention that we've got a Japanese group coming, and we've got three other of our strike groups headed in that direction. One of them is in the process of being I think it's the USS Ronald Reagan. It's in the process of being maintenanced, and it's going to be on its way in the next few weeks. But there's other two strike groups that are on the way, Carl Vinson being one of them. Now, they haven't actually gotten into the waters of North Korea yet, from what I've understood. I believe our submarine fleets are there. It's kind of what President Trump implied when he said that our submarine power was much more greater than even our armada of ships. So there's been a lot of conflicting reports, and I've been trying to sift through them, even through the mainstream. So it's been a little bit confusing to find out exactly where this strike group of the Carl Vinson is. I believe it's still on the way from what we're looking at. There, like I said, there was conflicting reports that it was already there, but it really wasn't. And now they're saying that it's still on the way. You know, Yonhap News, the official South Korean news agency, stated that they were on the way along with two other strike groups, one of them being the Ronald Reagan and the Gerald Ford. So there's, like I said, we're trying to sift through some of those reports and try to figure out what's real and what's not. This report here says that the military is considering shooting down North Korean missile tests as a show of strength to Pyongyang. Two sources briefed on the planning have told The Guardian, amid heightened tensions over North Korea's nuclear weapons and ballistic missile programs, the Pentagon is looking for ways short of war to pressure the country into denuclearization, particularly if Pyongyang goes forward with a sixth nuclear test. In defense, the Defense Secretary James Mattis has briefed Congress on the option, but the military has not yet decided to intercept a test missile. The U.S. official said the prospective shoot-down strategy would be aimed at occurring after a nuclear test, with the objective being to signal Pyongyang that the U.S. can impose military consequences for a step Donald Trump has described as unacceptable. On a visit to South Korea this week, the U.S. Vice President Mike Pence warned Pyongyang against testing Trump's resolve and declared an end to Obama's strategic patience policy. But North Korea's Deputy Foreign Minister Hang Sang-yeol told the BBC that Pyongyang would continue to test missiles on a weekly, monthly, and yearly basis. All-out war would ensue if the U.S. took military action, he said. Experts and former officials said shooting down a North Korean missile during a test would risk an escalation that Washington might not be able to control, which would risk potentially devastating consequences to U.S. allies, South Korea, and Japan. Quote, I would see such an action as escalatory, but I couldn't guess how Kim Jong-un would interpret it, said Abraham Denmark, the senior Pentagon policy official for Asia in Barack Obama's administration. Quote, but I would be concerned he would feel the need to react strongly as he would not want to appear weak. Both sources said the military was not considering the use of a high-profile missile defense system the U.S. is providing to South Korea, known as the Thermal High Altitude Area Defense, or THAAD. THAAD's 200-kilometer range and sophisticated radar have unnerved China, whose president has been coaxed by Trump into pressuring North Korea. An operational THAAD installation is unlikely before May 9th, when South Koreans vote for a new president. Instead, both sources said the military was looking at attempting a missile shootdown with an Aegis missile defense system aboard a U.S. Navy destroyer, or by convincing Japan to use its own missile defense capabilities against a ballistic missile test traversing Japanese waters. The USS Carl Vinson Carrier Strike Group, which includes Aegis-equipped destroyers, is headed for the Korean Peninsula. Several previous U.S. administrations have considered shooting down North Korean missile tests, only to reject the option after considering the possible consequences of provoking an unpredictable and bellicose adversary. Senior Pentagon officials considering the shoot-down option are said to have conceded they are unsure how North Korea would respond. Gary Ross, a Pentagon spokesman, said, "We are exploring a new range of diplomatic, security, and economic measures, and all options are on the table. North Korea's unlawful weapons program represent a clear, grave threat to the U.S. national security. North Korea openly states that its ballistic missiles are intended to deliver nuclear weapons to strike cities in the United States, the Republic of Korea, and Japan." An official said the military was discussing a potential shoot-down ahead of Trump's meeting with President of China on 6th of April at Trump's Mar-a-Lago resort in Florida. The discussion also preceded a military parade in Pyongyang on Saturday in which North Korea displayed new intercontinental ballistic missiles and anti-ship missiles, as well as a failed test launch on Sunday. Another factor complicating a shoot-down would be the risk of embarrassment should Aegis interceptors miss a North Korean target, which might embolden Pyongyang and unnerve U.S. regional allies. Patrick Cronin, Senior Director of the Asia-Pacific Security Program at the Center for a New American Security, agreed that failure to bring down a missile would give North Korea a psychological advantage. Cronin said the U.S. was far more likely to try to jam a missile test to ensure it does not fly far from the peninsula. U.S. military officials are said to have been deeply disturbed after being taken by surprise at a North Korean missile launch in February. The commander in charge of U.S. nuclear weapons, Air Force General John Hyten, recently told the Senate that the 11th of February test was staged out of a place we'd never seen before. North Korea's advancement in solid-fuel rockets, mobile launch vehicles built for the North's unpaved roads, and cloud cover, which frustrate satellite surveillance, are causing U.S. planners to fear that they may have little time to detect the next wave of North Korean missiles. Ken Goss, director of the International Affairs Group at the think tank CNA, which is influential with the Pentagon, said U.S. planners had grown frustrated with coercive diplomacy, but Cross said that while Washington might spin a shoot-down as a step below an attack on North Korea or an attempt to overthrow its government, it risked validating Kim's position that North Korea needs nuclear weapons and long-range missiles to respond to American aggression. Quote, "I still see this as escalatory and playing with potential fire. At the end of the day, Kim Jong-un cannot be seen internally as backing down from pressure," unquote, Goss said. Robert Kelly, an associate professor at South Korea's Pusan National University, said, quote, "North Korea is banned from testing missiles by the UN, so in that sense we should be shooting all of them down. But instead, the world has turned a blind eye. I don't think it would be a bad idea to shoot down a test missile, as an attack on North Korea itself would be too provocative." Unquote. Ross, the Pentagon spokesman, called on North Korea to abandon provocative, destabilizing actions and rhetoric, and for China to use its unique influence to compel Pyongyang to abandon its illicit weapons. Quote, "Our commitment to the defense of our allies, including the Republic of Korea and Japan, in the face of these threats is ironclad," he said. Well, there you have it. It looks like things are still in escalation mode. We're still kind of scratching our head as to what we should be doing. I think that they do have a plan, but, are they weighing their options, not wanting to escalate into a major all-out conflict or war with North Korea, but yet still putting pressure enough to stop them and try to talk some sense into them. But I don't think there's any talking of any sense into a crazy regime that considers its leaders gods and basically worships the state. They actually have a worship and a religious kind of mentality, a cult-like mentality, very similar to the Nazis during World War II. I don't think you're going to talk any sense into a country or into a leadership like that. Very bad situation. Something's going to happen here. Just be prepared in every way, guys. God bless. Trumpet News signing out. Make sure you subscribe, share, and like this video.